I'm Will Hedrick.
And I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this is Dog Ears and Timestamps, a book club podcast.
Dude, this one has been, I'm too eager for this story to get onward, you know? Like, I feel like the heist that they're laying out for the grown-ups and then all the backstory is just, I want to know. I just want to finish it. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
It's a good book, yeah.
We've seen a couple of things that we were wrong about initially this week.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It makes more sense this way. I was definitely like, how is this going to progress? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then we read this week and I was like, okay, well, that clears things up a little bit more. It makes more sense. Okay. Namely the Salvara game, where I had thought that it wasn't just going to be like a milking of money. I thought that they were going to do something. What it was, I had no idea. And I didn't go back to double check on it, but I thought Salvara had said, I will hire these people. I want to pick them. But none of that's happened.
Yeah, they're just getting money.
And they've now taken like 3 checks from him.
And see, that's what I thought was going to happen, but I wasn't 100% sure. I was like, okay, he probably did. Like,
it certainly makes more sense, but I swear to God, I remembered Salvara being like, I will hire the men and I will find the ships. And I was like, okay, so, and he's agreeing to it, so there must be some other end game going on aside from just strict money. But no, it is they're just pulling money.
What is the money they're using again? Is it the Tolons or the...
They've got...
Are they using crowns right now? Like from him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
I think that so whenever it describes like the hoard that they have, the majority of it is in Komori crowns.
Oh, okay.
They have some foreign money for when they need it, but the majority of their 40,000 crown fortune is in Komori.
How much do you think that is in like our money?
I have no idea.
Probably like 25 million.
It seems to be like a middling currency in regard to everything else that they've talked about. I think the currency of the Kingdom of the Seven Marrows is stronger. If I remember their conversation when they were talking about it. And then in one of the flashback chapters, they're doing conversions before dinner.
Fun.
And I don't remember exactly how that math broke out.
Oh, yeah, I don't either.
But I feel like maybe it's a middling currency. Or maybe upper middle, which is sort of where the American dollar is.
You think it's $40,000 they have?
Maybe.
Okay. Maybe.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what to
compare it to.
It's hard to even
compare it, yeah. When did you read this week?
I spread it out.
Nice.
I tried to do as best I could. Just like 2 chapters a day. Well, 2 chapters and 2 interludes a day.
Cool. And it was good? It was fun to read it that way?
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. It takes me about, like 45 minutes to an hour to read that much. They weren't all the same length, but, it averaged about that much. So it was like the perfect amount of time to like read, be really invested, and then be like, all right, it's time to do something else.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, I listened to it a little bit early in the week, and then just I realized I wasn't like giving it the full attention I needed to, and my mind was wandering a little bit, so I went and listened to some other things, and then I really hit it hard, the last couple days. And it's fun though. This book's been getting even like more fun.
Yeah.
I love all the flashbacks. I think we said last time they're just literally used as like a cool plot device so that he can tell us what's like how they learned what they're about to show you.
It's some like pretext for what it is that they're about to do, or to give context to everything that's happening at that time.
Yeah, and that's really fun too, because I'm always really into like training in a fantasy novel, especially when it's like something that's kind of foreign to me. Obviously, like pulling off heists and thievery and that's that kind of stuff. I didn't do any of that. So it's super interesting to me to hear like all this, like how fun it is for Locke to come up with all these theatrics, and then like the different tests that they have and the different skills they're all using, and just watching them like slowly become friends and like the master like team that we kind of know they are now. But it's flashing back, and so we're just getting a little touch of them learning, and I always love that in like books and shows and anything really.
Yeah. There's nothing like a good montage.
Oh yeah.
Not exactly the same thing, but
yeah,
that's like why montages are so great, because you see all the work being done
mm-hmm.
very quickly and effectively.
Yeah.
Backed by some great 80s rock and roll music. I'm excited to see where the rest of the series goes. Yeah. But I think it's becoming more and more evident that it's not just that they're not one-off stories of each other, that this is an entire series about this group of boys. While in the present time they are adults, they're relatively young still. They're in their early 20s at the latest.
Do you think they're going to come to some like resolution with like the main baddie that we kind of run into in at the end of this reading?
I think that I don't know what is going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with either of the powers that matter at this point, because the Duke don't really matter. What matters is the Grey King and Kappa Barsavi. Uh-huh. And I don't know what's going to happen with either of them.
Yeah.
Right now, Locke is still like in real high regards with the Kappa. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't be found out for working with the Grey King, albeit, forcefully. Mm-hmm. Unless something else happens. But I don't know what the fucking Grey King's game is, because as good as he's been so far at what he's doing, at what he's doing, how would he not have anticipated that they might be able to figure out some quote-unquote weakness in the Bond Mage's protection? You know?
Yeah, I mean...
He just overlooked something so obvious like that. So it seems like it was intentional for some reason.
That's what I was going to say. Unless he's like that calculated and he just knew that it wouldn't work out.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that maybe the most obvious thing right now would be that he needs the Kappa to think that he's dead and that he's won.
Yeah.
So that he can then continue to do his next huge thing, whatever that is, you know?
Yeah, that actually would work out pretty good.
That seems like the obvious thing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe something else happens. Yeah. Everything else has been relatively subversive so far. Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine what else it would be that he needed to have Locke stand in his place for the purpose of, having him potentially killed.
Yeah. Why do you think they had him, like, why do you think he wrote that they had to steal a body, like, as kids? Like, when Chains came up to him and was like, hey, I need you guys to get a body for this lady. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but if you need anything, let me know, and I'll get it for you. But you got to get the body. It has to be fresh. I wonder why they did that. Like, I wonder if that's going to come up. There's going to be...
I think that it might have just been an illustration of Locke's capability for coming up with plans.
Okay, I like that.
And Locke taking place as the leader of his age group in the game.
It did signify the because that specific heist signified him becoming like the leader, the mastermind, and
because the twins were immediately. Well, he was like, "Can y'all sit the steps tomorrow while I think about this?" And they were immediately like, "Yes, please, you think about it." Like they recognized that he was smarter than them at that.
Yeah, that was his
and that he should
forte.
Work on it. So I think that was what that was supposed to show.
Could have been anything.
Because it was also a relative. I mean,
it sounds like a really hard heist. I
was going to say it seems like a relatively difficult job to do to obtain a corpse as fresh as possible and not have killed it yourselves.
Yeah, right.
And then he goes even further beyond that and like makes money off of it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that whole scene. Basically, what kind of... Let me see if I remember it all right. Like he... like some lady's husband's getting hung, right? Mm-hmm. And
he's a thief.
He's got caught as being a thief.
He had done a couple things, probably.
And so she was gonna have. They basically came in like to pick up his body in the name of like their church, because they said that he had always wanted that, and she was like, "Oh, okay."
More or less.
Did she take? She sent it off to somebody else.
She never
first?
had anything to do with it.
Oh, she never had it.
That was all a lie.
They just said that she did. Okay, for some reason I thought it was at her
some
house.
black alchemist who ends up being the black alchemist that the twins go to see in our reading to get the poison for Locke, so he can fake sick, so he can call him to work. She just needs a body, and she calls in a favor that Chains owes her to get the body. So he says, "Well, y'all go do it," and Locke figures that he gets Chains to get him like a list of all the people who are going to be hung the next day or whatever. And then he researches those people, finds out that one of them has a wife, and says, well, I can pull a game saying that the wife wants his body to be interred for a little bit to get some additional like prayers and things like that, so that he can have an easier time on the other side, rather than just immediately going to the goddess of the long sleep.
And then they showed up with a little bit of money, like saying like, here, we're even gonna,
they have to bribe like the authorities to.
They were gonna make like a donation, quotes. One thing, I thought that they brought some money because that was in their lie. It was like, this is all the money the wife had for the funeral, like, and then they got that stolen. Wink, wink. Yeah,
but that was so they had to go pay the authorities to get the body.
Oh, okay.
And then on the way back, they stop at like an artisan's district to buy candles for the ritual that's going to happen.
Okay.
And then at that point, the purse gets stolen, and then they con everybody in the artisan's district into paying them to make up for the shame that has happened in their district, which is supposed to be like a well-patrolled spot and all that sort of stuff.
And they did all that on purpose, right?
Yeah, that was all his plan.
Who stole the purse?
One of the twins.
Oh, okay. So they literally lost no
Either
money.
Callow or Galdo, I don't remember who.
Nice.
So they didn't lose anything. I think they ended up making like 5 solons or something like that.
Okay, cool. That was all. Locke's awesome. He's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like all his heists. That's like the most fun part about this book. Like, that's the best part of it. It's just all the heists and the problem solving and the success. I mean, it didn't end with success this week, but
right.
I'm sure he'll
be just all the complicated plans that he comes up with, and what it is that happens that throws them off and how they adjust and that sort of thing. So I don't know. I guess there's really only like a couple, things more or less that happen. We start off with Locke and the gang. They're going to go visit the Kappa to pay their taxes.
Right.
While he's there, the Kappa's like, things are getting fucked up with the Great King, and even besides that, I'm going to die someday, and my sons are idiots that have no caution. You've got a lot of caution, so you marry Nazca,
his daughter, and
that'll bring you within the family, and they'll have to listen to you because you're so fucking smart, and you'll be close to the family at that point.
And give you permission to marry.
Yeah.
He's like, what?
And Locke's like, and she's like, they're like, neither of them want to marry each other.
Ew, gross, cuties.
Right. And then while they're trying to figure out what they're going to do about that, Locke gets taken in by the Great King. And the Great King says, I need you to impersonate me for a meeting that I'm going to have with the Kappa, and you'll find out what to do then.
Yeah, he has his like sorcerer talk to him like telepathically.
A bonds mage, they call him, which are like the only sorcerers on the continent. They have a monopoly on sorcery.
Yeah,
everybody either join the guild or die.
He was talking about like he's the one that has the familiar, which is that like scorpion hawk, which is hawk. pretty dope.
It's like a chimera.
Yeah.
And then after that, Nazca dies. The Great King kills her, and then Locke fakes sick so he doesn't have to go to the meeting, because then the Kappa's like, I want you to be at the meeting with me. We're all going to fuck up the Great King.
And I want to be a part of that.
Yeah, because he has to be the Great King. So then he fakes sick and then goes and beats the Great King. And then the Kappa and his men find a break in the bonds mage's protection, beat the fuck out of Locke as the Great King, and then throw him in a barrel of horse piss and throw him into this waterfall that's in this weird elder structure. That's like a big cube. Has a waterfall in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard to follow the descriptions of the buildings because they're so outlandish.
Yeah, I just sort of wing it in my mind.
And with no purpose given.
Okay, there's a waterfall now.
Because it's like a found city of an old race that no longer exists anymore.
Right.
So no one knows what the purpose of any of the buildings are. So there's no description to give any of the buildings context and be like, oh, well, yes, that's the foyer of the courthouse. And in the courthouse, there are prison cells and meeting rooms. And you can imagine all that because you're given context. But it's just a big fucking cube, man. No one knows what it does. Like, okay, I can't imagine what that is then.
Would that be super annoying to have a waterfall, like, in your house? Probably, right? I
suppose it depends on how powerful it is.
And then, like,
and how insulated it is from everywhere else. Yeah. There's a lot of structural questions. As I feel like it would be super cool. I feel like it could also be very annoying. It'd
be cooler to make one like under the waterfall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could be neat.
Yeah. I'd do that one, I think, rather than build it over.
Mm-hmm.
Probably get myself hurt, though. I'd have to get wet every time.
I feel like if you built one like on the waterfall, there's so much erosion happening that you'd eventually lose your house. Or it would cost like an extreme fortune to keep it maintained constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they got it in a bad spot.
Yeah. So we don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Jean and Locke, and I mean, they all have a plan. They came up with an idea to be able to get them out of town if they need to. Mm-hmm. The twins, the Sansa brothers, went and loaded up the hoard of cash on carts, paid off some guards at the gates, and were like, we can get the fuck out of here whenever we need to. Mm-hmm. Bug's on lookout, doing something. Oh, actually, we don't know what Bug's role is.
Didn't he like insist on like sneaking around and like?
He's in some concealed place where he can monitor things. I guess I don't know.
Not doing.
It doesn't really. What's he gonna do?
He might be doing an amazing job. He might be going to get all the help in there.
And then Jean is in another undisclosed place when they're recapping the plan, and he mentions. So if it does all go really south, you got to at least try to jump down the waterfall. So that figures in somehow, and luckily the barrel that he gets put in gets thrown into the waterfall. So
yeah, I guess they just thought he'd drown in the horse piss in the casket they put him in, right? Like
yeah.
I mean, if their plan is to go in the waterfall as an escape route, like hopefully they would think that it's like safe enough to jump off of, probably, right?
Right.
So they wouldn't think that he'd die from that, maybe. I guess
they're hoping not.
Well, I mean, the team is.
They hadn't anticipated the cask.
Yeah.
But it seems unlikely that he'll die.
Yeah, I mean,
just given that the book is titled after him, that he would die halfway through seems unlikely. Certainly is possible.
How wild would that be? It just takes a twist,
right?
We learn about all these other lies he's been telling that we have to deal with.
So we'll see what happens. He's evidently going to get, at the very least, his corpse would get pulled back in by Jean. Jean's at the end of the waterfall or something like that. I don't know. So you got no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't actually end with him falling off the waterfall.
We had another interlude afterwards in which we hear about a little mini gang war that happens between the bastards and the full crowns seconds, which call themselves the half crowns.
That's pretty cool. It's just like basically like their underlings are fighting it out to see who's better. And they're basically and the people watching, like the full crowns and the
chains.
He's just watching it all. They're both just watching it all go down. It's probably like learning exercises for both of them.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't create like a forever hatred between the two.
The one who's leading the half crowns is Tesso, who was the Garista, the last Garista to be killed before Nazca, the one that was like a big deal to the Kappa. And the way that Locke sort of talked about him, and the way that the gang sort of talked about him, it's not like they were like, well, good riddance or anything like that, you know. Of course, the Full Crowns were also like the biggest and baddest gang that there was, next to the Kappa's personal men.
Yeah, last week we got a little bit of Jean showing himself as like the money man, like being smart, kind of in charge of the finances.
He's like a merchant's boy.
Yeah, and then this week it confirmed it. Like we learned when Locke and him meet as kids. Like, one funny thing was that Chains is getting all his kids from the Thief Master. So it's like
at least all the ones that we know about.
Yeah, all the ones we know about. It seems like it's the Thief Master training camp before they go see Chains.
Right.
And then Chains kind of whips him into shape, makes him gentleman. But so like we get Jean the same way, and Jean's kind of like a tubby little kid, but he's farsighted, right? Like he can't see close up.
Yeah.
And he's like really good with numbers, and like you said, a merchant's son. So that was like a fun little throwback, and he has like a huge temper, so he's like their muscle and their money man,
right?
Which is just like a silly combo.
Yeah, it was cool to see how he comes into the gang.
Yeah.
At some point, we'll finally meet Sabbatha, the girl, whose name we couldn't remember last week because it's like an almost name.
Yeah, she seems basically like a female Locke. Like that's kind of the way they're describing her. Is like
yeah, there was one point where
on her
Chain
own.
said that she's like a born charmer, where like Locke is also like a born charmer, though described more as like theatrical rather than just straight up charming. So hopefully at some point we'll have to meet her, even if it's not until like the next book or something,
right?
Because she is the love interest, at the very least, and also a part of the Gentleman Bastards, though she's not currently around.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I wonder how they recruited Bug. Do you remember? We haven't gotten that yet, right?
I don't think that. Well, Bug never met Chains. I don't think.
Right. Yeah.
I think at some point they said
Locke
so, but we haven't seen his origin just yet.
Okay.
Or how? I guess it also depends on how long he's been with them. Because if he's only been with them for like 6 months, then there's not a whole lot of reason to go into that.
Right.
Because that's just before we've met everybody, and how formative is that for their characters when they're already about as developed. If it's only been 6 months,
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what's going to happen next. I really have no idea.
Yeah, man. I can't even think of anything else that happened to try and give me like context for what they're going to do next. Like, what do you even like? What would
we found out what the shadow was?
Yeah,
it was the falcon, the scorpion hawk.
Yeah,
whatever they called it, hawk scorpion. I think it was scorpion hawk. We found out it was that. There was evidently a traitor to the Great King, but that was potentially also just a plant. Barsavi now thinks that the Great King's dead. They're going to party.
Yeah.
There's something else that the Great King's doing.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes any sense is that all of this was purposeful, that he knew that Locke would either die or not die.
Right.
But that it would create the illusion that Great King is dead.
Yeah. And so you think Great King is going to think that Locke is dead too?
So far, it seems like nothing escapes his notice. I think he might be expecting Locke to be dead, and maybe Locke's got like 3 days that he goes unnoticed, which would probably be long enough for him to even just recover for what he's been through.
Yeah.
It's not like he's going to be able to make any moves during that time.
Yeah.
I think that the Great King finds out that he's back quicker than he can get anything done.
I would think that like he can't get anything past him, especially with his like minion watching out with all the Scorpion Hawk all the time.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if they'll continue much, if at all, with the Salvara game at this point. Because now, at least for longer than he probably had anticipated, Locke's in no condition to pretend to be Lucas Fairwhite again and go see him. And they really only wanted to get like maybe 2 more touches before they vanished on him anyways.
Yeah, so they're basically almost done with that heist anyway, but yeah, like 70% of their loot.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that, like we've already gone over, the only thing that makes any sense is that the Great King intended for this to happen so that he would have some more time to do whatever his next step is under the now common knowledge that he's dead and defeated.
I bet they just take all their treasure now that they think Locke is dead and they go on the pirate ship. This whole next part is them getting the pirate ship for the next book.
That's just it, is that if it continues to be them for the rest of the series, why is it that they're presumably fleeing Gamora on a ship?
Yeah. Is
it because the game with the Gray Fox continues and accelerates? Does something happen with the Kappa and now he's got to run from the Kappa? Does Duke Nicovante suddenly join the game and cause like a big fuss, and so now like everybody's got to leave the city?
Yeah. Man. That could just be him trying to start over too, like forcing them to start fresh, like they have to leave all their loot. I liked it where they make a map and they draw an X and they bury their treasure.
Yeah. I don't know. Something's going to happen. We'll find out.
Yeah. Who's your favorite character?
It's like most good ensemble casts. They're all really good for their own reason.
Yeah.
I think I enjoy the Sansa twins the most. Just because they're funny.
Yeah.
Jean's kind of a nothing character.
Right.
We haven't seen enough from him to have like too much of an opinion from him. Aside from he just seems loyal. He's just like a solid dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Solid.
Bug is just like, the young protege who's like, irreverent and, funny in his own way. Locke's like the man. You know? He's the guy. He's got all the answers. He's really cool and smart and smooth and all the things that you want to be as a gang leader, I guess.
Yeah. I think I like young Locke.
Yeah, where he's a little more precocious.
Yeah, he's just more wild and he's like not held back by his like he's not held back by his what was the word that the thief maker said he wasn't? He lacked oh man, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it's just funny because he's just like way more wild. His plans are just like they don't think about the outcome or the consequences of what's gonna happen. They just like are thinking about like getting it done no matter what the cost is. So I mean, I like his new, better thought out like Ocean's 11 plans. Really good heist and stuff. But it's fun like with Kid Locke having him learn about him and then come up with crazy stuff because he's also so theatrical. Yeah.
It's just like fun for him. And that's like really the only reason he does it.
Exactly.
More than anything is that he really enjoys it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that the magic in this series isn't like super obvious, I guess. I don't know. It is obvious when they're doing it, but it doesn't seem... Because there is just a one faction and they don't let you in.
Yeah, there only seems to be like two kinds of what we would call magic.
Yeah.
There's sorcery that the Bonds mages do.
Mm-hmm.
And at least on this continent, they're the only ones.
Yeah.
They're also very expensive, so they don't come up very often. And then aside from that, there is alchemy.
With like the glow lamps and stuff, right?
Yeah. And so that's like some level of magic and practice or something like that. And that's what the alchemists do. But it's mostly like, it's like potion making is what they seem to do mostly. So there's, where one is a little bit more tangible, alchemy. That's a little bit easier to wrap your head around as like something that like a person could do, but not have any huge effect with. Mm-hmm. And then until the Falconer shows up, there was no magic being displayed.
Yeah, and he talks about it being his like familiar, and he can like see through its eyes. I think he talks about that a little bit.
Yeah, they seem to be linked to some degree,
which is cool. I don't think he has any more. I think it's just that one like beast under his.
That's the only one that gets shown. Yeah.
But that's cool, man. I don't know. I want us to get a wizard, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, it would be interesting to... It would have to be somebody that's on the run, though.
Right.
Away from, someone who's been hiding from the Bonds mages.
Yeah. Or we could grab an alchemist maybe then.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, dude.
I think at some point, obviously throughout the series, we'll get new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe lose a couple. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to... At least not initially, we're not going to just continue on with the series for this show, but...
yeah, I know I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether we go on for the show or not, like
I'm for sure
that might be
reading it.
Bad. Well, no, if we both keep reading it, then we could just talk about the rest of the series when we finish them.
Yeah, whenever it's all done.
Yeah, but dude, I'm definitely gonna keep reading them. I like Locke. I like our group. If we lose a couple, gain a couple. Don't lose any, gain a couple. Don't even if we don't even gain any, which would be that'd be a little. I'd honestly be a little disappointed if we don't gain any. Especially if it's still Locke and his crew in the other books. I'd be a little disappointed if we didn't gain a bastard.
We'll have to at some point, even if it's just for that book,
Yeah.
Just for that section of the adventure.
To kill him, and then they kill him off at the end.
Where it goes a separate way, and he says,
"Nope,
I can't wait till we meet again." Just like Naruto. He meets all these people, and they're always like, "Until we meet again, and it's gonna be great, and I'll remember you." Never fucking see them ever
every
again.
now and then, like when he did meet Gaara again, it was great, and they
yeah, but Gaara is also one of the
Kazekage, but still,
yeah,
but,
he's more important than that kid who lives at his mom's fucking or his grandma's ramen shop in the middle of nowhere.
See him again.
Yeah, he's useless.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, I guess. Dude, I'm good. We're good with the book?
Yeah, I think we're good for this week.
Cool. Yeah. So what do you want to do next week? Just the next...
the next chapter or the next book. Yeah. Book 3, Revelation.
How many? And that is... let me look it up. All right. So that's 9, 10, and 11.
I believe that is correct.
Well, that's not that much.
9, 10, 11.
It's just 2 hours of audio.
It's a shorter book. It's it's under 70 pages.
Okay.
So it's definitely shorter than the other sections that we've read.
And there's no way we can put both together. That's way too long for sure.
Yeah, it jumps ahead, and then after that, we'd be looking at the epilogue as well. So
yeah,
if we tried to finish the whole thing, we'd be looking at over 200 pages.
Yeah, no, let's not do that.
Yeah,
let's
so we're just gonna we'll read book 3, Revelation,
chapter 9, 10, and 11.
Ends at book 4, Desperate
Improvisation.
For some reason, my Kindle found that exact moment to time out. So we'll talk to you all next week.
Yeah, you know how to find us. Instagram. No, wait. I don't even know how to find us. Twitter. Do we have an Instagram? We do have Instagram.
We do have Instagram.
Yeah.
I use it way more than I use our Twitter.
Nice. Yeah. So at ears_stamps.
Yeah. On both of those. Cool. Yeah.
And then email dogearsandtimestamps@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know how to reach us.
Yeah. We're on those spots.
We're thinking about branching out too, so let us know.
Yeah, there's things that we're thinking about for all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Also the Google Play podcast feed got back up. It's fine now.
All right.
It was broken last week, but it's back in business for now. We'll see if this episode pops up on it, and if not, I'll have to talk to the team again. But
your team at Google?
Well, not my team at Google, just the podcast team at Google.
It's like, what?
Nah, we're not that important. But
we got a guy.
And on that note of not being important, I'm Will Hedrick.
And I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this is the unimportant Dog Ears and Timestamps.
We will be important.